Do we have any other questions about these? Good. Okay. For today's lesson, we are talking about some fractions and decimals. Again, if we'll make sure we change that date. So right here, this should be 9/10 of 2019. Okay. Make sure you put your name on your paper in case it gets lost. Today we're going to be talking about some fractions. We just finished up decimals. Has everyone, hopefully by this point, realized that fractions and decimals are the same thing?
Or somebody else?
Alright, let me get you a notes paper. Alright, so fractions and decimals are the same. So, for example, the fraction 1/2 is the same as what decimal? The fraction 1/2 is the same as what decimal? Annie? 0.5. So 1/2 and 0.5 mean the same thing. 3/4 is the same as what decimal? 3/4 is the same as what decimal, Jenny? 0.75. Okay. So today we're going to kind of talk about those a little bit more and be able to change back and forth from a fraction to a decimal. So not all of yours are going to be as easy as 0.5 and 0.75. But before we get into that, guys, we do need to talk about a little bit of vocabulary. Y'all have a test. What is your test on this going to be? Does anyone remember? We talked about it yesterday. When is your test on this material going to be? Brianna? Not this Friday. Not next Friday. Next Wednesday, guys. All right, so our test days are always Friday and Wednesday. Typically, we will do our test on Friday. But you'll notice that tomorrow we have to do our Scantron testing. That's a state thing. They said that we have to do it tomorrow. That's what I was told. So we're doing our Scantron testing tomorrow. So that loses a day for us of lesson time. So instead of still having the test this Friday, I'm pushing it back to next Wednesday. All right, so our test will be next Wednesday. It is a test, not a quiz. Again, I'm going to repeat, that is a test, not a quiz. So what's going to be on there? Remember, what do my tests have that my quizzes usually do not? Vocabulary. It's going to have vocabulary. So you'll notice up here we have vocabulary. And I'm going to put some old vocabulary on there because I still have some people missing these, and they are really, really important. Brianna, can we please put that away, okay? All right, so my vocabulary words that are old that we still need to remember are the word sum. The word sum, what operation does that mean we were doing? We're doing adding, so I put a little plus sign above that just for a little reminder. The word different, so these are going to be on the test again. So hopefully we learned these back in intermediate school. If not, this is another chance to show that we know them. Difference. Sorry, it would help if I spelled it correctly. Difference means what was happening? Subtraction. Product means multiplication. So I put a little time symbol. And quotient means division. All right, these will be on the test again for this Wednesday. All right, I'll work on getting together a Quizlet to send out tomorrow. All right, in addition to these old vocabulary words, we do have some new vocabulary words. One of them being numerator, which is a part of a fraction. Which part of the fraction is the numerator, Kayla? The top part. So we're going to say it's the number above, underline that, the number above, which means on top, above the line in a fraction that indicates how many parts of the whole. Okay. So for example, if I had 5/8, which one is the numerator?
5.
The 5. And that means that I have 5 out of how many total pieces? 8. So 5 would be the part that I have. 8 is the whole thing, and that's how many pieces that it was cut into originally. All right? All right, what about the denominator? The denominator is the number, Josh?
The number under the line in a fraction that indicates the whole.
Very good. So the number, say below or under the line. In a fraction. And it does indicate the whole. It also, and it's used as the divisor when we start talking about how to change them up, okay? So the denominator is going to be your divisor. Your divisor goes where? At the door. All right? So my denominator will always be at the door once we start doing that division to start changing them, which we'll see in a little bit. All right, the word simplify. This word drives me crazy a little bit. All right, we all know it means to make something smaller. But this is what drives me crazy. I will have people ask me, do I have to simplify all the way? Okay, guys, the word simplify automatically means all the way. Okay, so when we say simplify, it means to reduce a fraction I'm going to underline that because that's kind of the big thing that's happening here. To reduce a fraction to its lowest terms. So when you ask me, when I simplify, do I have to go all the way? The answer is automatically yes, because it says right here, simplifying means that we get it to the lowest. All right? So that's why when you ask me, well, I simplified it some, did you really simplify it if you only did it some? No, you have to go all the way, which is why I will mark off usually partial credit on a test, but full credit on a homework or a quiz because you have to go all the way in the definition. Are we okay with that? Understand where that's coming from? Okay. All right. Let's talk about converting decimals to fractions. Moving it down. So we said that decimals and fractions are the same thing, so we need to be able to go back and forth between them. Again, decimals like 0.5, that's really easy. What is 0.5 as a fraction? 1/2. A decimal like 0.2. Does anyone know what 0.2 is as a fraction? Okay, so if you don't, that's okay because we're going to learn how to change it now. Thank you, Rubian, for your honesty. I appreciate that because everyone else is staring at me. All right, so if we don't know how to change that, which sounds like most of us don't, well, we're going to learn how to change that now. All right, so if you'll look at these 3 steps, this is going to tell you what to do. So it says the number behind the decimal goes on top, the last place value goes on the bottom, and then we're going to simplify. Now, here's the thing that I want us to remember. The decimal is like a fraction, correct? That's only talking about the number behind the decimal. The number... Yes? Yes. The number in front of the decimal is the... What's the number in front of the decimal? It's a whole number. So would that go in a fraction? No. All right. So on this first example, I have 0 in front. So do I need anything in front of my fraction? No. So let's kind of look at what step 1 says. It says the number behind the decimal goes on top. So what's behind the decimal? 98. Okay, I'm going to draw my fraction bar. Okay, the last place value goes on the bottom. So if I look at the last number 8, what place value is that in? Raise your hand. Connor? The hundredths, which means I'm going to put 100 on the bottom. Okay? So this might be something you didn't realize is that fractions actually came before decimals. So if I read this fraction, it's 98 hundredths. that 8 is considered the hundredths position because of the fraction. All right. Some of us are not great at place value. All right. So here's another little trick for you. It's always going to be 1, so 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000. All right. So you're always going to have a 1. The way you can determine how many zeros is how many numbers are after the decimal. How many numbers were after the decimal? 2. So I have 2 zeros there, making the number 100. Okay. All right. So there's my fraction. Step 3 says to simplify. Can 98 over 100 simplify? Raise your hand if you can tell me how to simplify that. Emma?
2.
By 2. We're going to divide it by 2. Okay. So 100 divided by 2 is pretty easy. What does that give me? 50. And 98 divided by 2? 49. Very good. 49 and 50. Can that simplify any further? No, those are big numbers. An easy way to tell is if I count 48, 49, 50. They're back to back. Once you get to where you're back to back, there is no way that can simplify. So that's our answer. And it doesn't have a whole number in front because there wasn't anything in front of the decimal. We good with that? All right. Number 2. What do you notice about number 2? Macy? It has a whole number. All right. 15 is in front of the decimal, which means I'm going to write 15 in front of my fraction. Now, guys, I want you to notice 15 should be in the middle of your fraction. So I did it really big, and it takes up 2 lines. All right. The fraction bar should be in the middle of 15. Okay? What number is going to go on top of this fraction? 715. All right, raise your hand if you can tell me what's going to go on the bottom. Kayla? 1,000. So again, I can use place value because 5 is in the thousandths. Or how many numbers are after the decimal? 3. So how many zeros? 3. Okay, Brianna? We can divide them by 5. So we do need to simplify these. All right. Before I write my answer, what do I need to make sure I put in front? The whole number. Please make sure you write 15. All right, and then there's my fraction bar. 715 divided by 5. I might need to go to the side and do that. So I'm going to put 5 at the door, 715 in the house. 5 will go into 7. Once, 1 times 5. 5, when I subtract, I get 2. So now I have 21. 5 will go into 21. 4 times. 4 times 5. 20. When I subtract, I get. Bring down the 5. 5 will go into 15. 3 times. Now 3 times 5 is 15, so I know that's going to be 0, right?
Yeah.
All right, guys, this is scratch work. So if you want to stop here, I'm okay with us taking a shortcut and saying, okay, I'm done. Am I testing you on dividing anymore? No. So now that I've tested you on dividing, now you can take a few shortcuts. Are y'all okay with that? So that's typically the way it's going to go in here. Once I test you on it, then if you want to take shortcuts or leave out steps, I'm fine. On the test, were you allowed to do that? No. All right. So now what do I get on top? 143. Okay, so now I've got to divide this by 5. I'm going to show you a little trick. Some of you already know it. Some of you probably use it. All right, what's the first number that 5 can go into here? 10. Okay, so do y'all see where I got 10 from? Cover up the other numbers. There's 10. How many times will 5 go into 10? 2. After that 10, how many zeros were there? 2. So I just wrote my 2 for the 10. And then there were 2 zeros after that I just add to the end. All right, you could still write out that division if you want to. That might just make it a little bit easier. All right, 143 over 200. Cannot simplify anymore, so we are done. Okay, Vivian?
I'm confused on how you get the bottom number. So I don't know, like 10?
So 5 is in the thousandths place, so I put 1,000 on the bottom. 8 was in the hundredths place, so I put 100 on the bottom. All right. Another way, so if we're not good with like hundredths, thousandths, 2 numbers after the decimal gives me 2 zeros. 3 numbers after the decimal gives me 3 zeros. If I had 4 numbers after the decimal, I would put 4 zeros. If I had 1 number after the decimal, what number would that be? Just 10, because I would have 1 0. Okay? All right. Good question. Are there any other questions? Okay, that was a really good one. Thank you. All right, let's look at the next part. where it says converting fractions to decimals. So here's the thing, guys, that fraction bar, you are going to get to the point in math, all right, where you never use a dot division symbol. All right? This year, we will get to the point where I don't want to see that dot division symbol anymore. All right? And the reason that we can say that is a fraction bar and a division symbol are actually the same. So we will get to the point in math class to where our division starts being written as a fraction. All right? And this is where we're going to start seeing that happen, okay? When we're changing a fraction to a decimal, it means we're going to be dividing because the fraction bar means to divide. The numerator is what's going to go on the inside. The denominator is what's going to go at the door. An easy way to remember that, denominator and door both start with a D. All right, so let's set up this first fraction problem. So I don't have anything in front, so do I have to worry about a whole number? No. All right, so I'm just going to start with my division. So 18 is on the bottom, so it's my denominator, which means it goes at the door, and then that means 8 has to go in the house. All right. Now, at the beginning of the year, if I had given you this division problem, you would have looked at me like I was crazy. All right. But now I know 18 won't go into 8. What can I add to that?
0.
Brianna?
A 0.
I can't just make 1880. I'm kind of skipping a really important thing. Christy, thank you for raising your hand. Chandler? We've got to put a decimal and then a 0. Because 8 and 8.0, those are the same. Do y'all see the difference there? All right, so basically with these, you're pretty much always going to add at least a 0.0 to them. All right, what's going to happen to that decimal, though? We're going to raise it up to the root, all right? And you've got to make sure it goes in the correct location. All right, can 18 go into 8? No. So you could put a 0 there, we could leave it blank. Can 18 go into 80? How many times do we think 18 will go into 80? What do you think, Chandler? 4. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to do 18 times 4. 4 times 8 is 32. Carry my 3. 4 times 1 is 4. Plus 3 is 7. So I'm going to agree with that. 4 gave me 72. When I subtract, what do I get? 8. So I'd add another 0 and bring it down. How many times will 18 go into 80? 4. That gives me 72. I subtract, I'd get 8. What's happening here? It keeps going. That 4 is going to happen over and over and over again. All right? Guys, when we write our answer here, I want it written next to the fraction, okay? It's going to help me eliminate some mistakes. All right? Do I have any whole numbers with this fraction? No. So I'm going to put 0 point. When I write that fraction of 0.444444444, how am I going to write it? Brianna?
0.4 with a line on top.
0.4 with a line on top of the 4 to show it repeats. And that is my answer. Okay. All right, number 2. What's going to go at the door?
20.
20. The denominator goes at the door. And what's going to go in the house? 16. What can I go ahead and add to my 16?
Decimal.
The decimal and the 0. All right, make sure we take that decimal and raise it to the root. Okay. Are y'all okay with how we're setting up that division? Door, denominator. Okay. How many times will 20 go into 1?
0.
0. How many times will 20 go into 16? 0. How many times will 20 go into 160? 8. Okay, 8 times 0 is 0. 8 times 2 is 16. So I get just 0.8. All right, now let's look at how we're going to write our answer. On number 2, is there anything that needs to go in front of that decimal, Aubrey? A 5. It has a 5 as a whole number, so I've got to put that 5 in front of the decimal. And then I'm going to look down here. What's going to go behind the decimal? 8. Okay, so what happened is those 0 zeros in front didn't matter because what do I need in front? A 5. And I only need the 8 from behind. What happens on these guys is people will circle their answer here and say that's it. That's not my answer. That's just my decimal. Do y'all see the difference? Okay, that? Okay. All right, so for number 3, what's going to go at the door?
45.
Josh?
45.
45 in the house?
4.
4. All right. Did I hear a question? Are we okay? Okay. All right. So we're going to go ahead and add our decimal and a 0. Make sure we raise it to the root. How many times will 45 go into 4?
0.
0. How many times will 45 go into 40?
0.
0. And now you can add a 0. Guys, you have to have those zeros on top. Maybe not the first one, but definitely the second one. Because it is after the decimal. We have to have that 0 right there. Okay? How many times will 45 go into 400? Connor? 4 times. So let's do 45 times 4. 5 times 4 is 20. Carry my 2. 4 times 4 is 16. Plus 2 is 18. That gives me 180. I'm thinking we can get closer to 400. All right, Aubrey? 8. Let's try 8. 45 times 8. 5 times 8 is 40. Carry the 4. 8 times 4 is 32. Plus 4 is 36. So 360. All right. It might be a good idea to get closer. All right. I'm going to do the math because I think it might be a good idea for all of us to see what that is. Okay. 9 times 5 is 45. Carry my 4. 9 times 4 is 36. Plus the 4, 40. Now, guys, 405, is that very far from 400? No. Do you think it was worth trying the 9? Yeah, they're really close. I would rather know for a fact that 9 is not going to work than use the wrong number. Okay? So, yeah, so 8's definitely the one we want to use because that gave me 360. Did it take me that long, though, to try the 9? It did not, and it was really close, so that was a good one to try out. All right, when I subtract this, 0 minus 0 is 0. 40 minus 36 is 4. So I'd add a 0, bring it down. How many times is 45 going to 400? 8. What do we see happening again? It's repeating. All right, so I want us to talk about how to write this answer. Okay, this one had a whole number, so what do I need in front of the decimal, Macy? 7, guys. I need us to work on raising our hand and actually waiting to be called on. Because I ask the question, hands shoot up, and then answers also get yelled out. What's going to go behind the decimal? Aiden? We need that 0. Please make sure you have that 0. Is that the first 0? No, but that second one behind the decimal we need. What else do I need behind the decimal? Kinsley. An 8 with a bar to show it repeats. If I just put 7.8 with a bar, is that correct? No, you have to have that 0 separating them, okay? All right. If you'll flip it over on the back, you have 6 problems of making them fractions and 6 problems of making them decimals. All right, you have the rest of the period to be working on this. We only got about 15 minutes.